Welcome to Contractor Cuts, where we cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing a successful contracting company.
Welcome to Contractor Cuts. My name is Clark Turner.
I'm Jared Flo.
Thank you guys for joining us again. So today's podcast is going to be a first of a handful of these that we're going to do throughout the next year.
Doing something a little different.
This is an interview of another successful contractor. So today on our show, we have Bruce Canerday. He's a C3CC construction company in Dallas, Texas area.
Yeah.
Bruce came to us when he was launching his company. He'd been working for a handful of months trying to figure it out, and we'll get into this in a little bit. But Bruce is a ProServe Alliance member and a partner of ours, and has really been a standout, honestly, in terms of growth. And, you know, we say, hey, you should do A, B, and C, and he comes back with D, E, and F already completed.
Right.
So he's a great model of how to go from a one-man show to growing your company, and he did it in about a year and a half.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna go from, you know, early days, how we got into contracting, the struggles, issues with that, the growing and development, pain of growing and development, all that, just kind of a full gamut of his timeline, and just get to see how things went.
Yeah, if you're another contractor, try and listen to his story. We're going to dive into the best decisions he made, the worst decisions he made, and kind of everything in between. So take something away from listening to this interview. So Bruce, welcome to the show.
Hey fellas, thanks for having me.
Why don't you just start off with telling us who you are, what your company does, where you're located, kind of all. Give us a little cliff notes of you and your company.
Absolutely. Bruce Canerday, C3 Construction Company. We're located in McKinney, Texas. We serve all of the DFW area. We do residential remodels, renovations, and additions. We also do commercial build-outs and remodels as well. If you want to check us out on Instagram, it's c3cc.pro. You can always check out our website. It's the same thing, c3cc.pro. And on Facebook, we are C3CC.
Sweet. Well, thank you for joining us. So Bruce is one of the guys in ProServe Alliance. He's been with us for about a year. Is that right? A little over a year?
A little over, yeah.
Yeah, a little over a year.
It was last February. It was around the time that you were on fully. So we wanted to dive deep. We're having Bruce on today because Bruce is a younger company. He's been in business for a few years now. He came on with us about a year and a half into building what he's doing, but he had some commercial experience. He's got some previous military experience, and so he's kind of ran the gamut from being in commercial, working for someone else, being in residential, then working for himself, and we feel like he's got a great story to dive deep into and learn a lot from. So Bruce, take us through the beginning. So you started, you went into the military, and then how did you get into construction from that part of your story?
Well, so I actually started young. I used to work with my uncle. He was a custom home builder. And so when I was in like high school, I worked with him. I used to go on mission trips and roof houses during the summers. And then I ended up going into the military. Once I got out, I was kind of lost, didn't really know what to do. Ended up taking a job, became an electrician. So I was an electrician for about 5 years.
Did you have training or experience from military or working with your dad? You just kind of happened into that job?
No, I just kind of happened into that. I was more just looking for something new, something to do. Looking for a career path that I could grow in, and I did well. Sure, love electrical. I ended up moving on from working with my hands to more of a leadership role with the company there. And then when I left there, I started doing more project management. I did a little bit of residential first with a company, went to another company, and really dove deep into more commercial, and did commercial project management for about 8 years.
And was that commercial company, was that nationwide or just in Texas?
It was nationwide. So I got the benefit of being able to travel and work in a lot of different areas. I get to work all over Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, worked in Georgia, Alabama. I get to work in Ohio. I get to work in the Northeast and travel up to Boston, Maine, and really enjoyed it. And
were you married at that time?
I was. So
wow.
So there's pros and cons to travel, of course. The benefit is you get to see and experience all new things. The downfall is you're away from your family.
Yeah. So you were project managing commercial jobs. When did you decide to transition to owning your own company, and why did you choose residential over starting a commercial construction company?
So, I was working as a commercial project manager, and I kind of had friends and family just asking me to do some stuff on the side. Hey, can you help me with this? Hey, can you help me with that? And so I just kind of started doing. I knew my company didn't do it, so it wasn't competing, and I ended up just trying to do a little bit of side work. And I would charge people $100. Yeah, I get my people over there. I'll take care of it. Whatever it costs plus $100.
Yeah.
And then that kind of snowballed, and they would refer me out to another one. That one would refer me out, and then it just kind of got busy. And I'll be honest, like, it was never my intention to start a company. I really enjoyed the job that I was working at. I had a great company that I worked for, good culture, and it just kind of happened. And I got busy enough that I had to make a decision. And it was the decision of either I quit doing C3 and really focus on my job, or I quit my job and really focus on C3 and growing it. And now we see which one I made, and I haven't looked back, been very happy.
How long did it take you to make that decision? I mean, between when you started thinking about it, you started talking to your wife about it, and actually verbalize the thought of starting your own thing, from the thought of maybe I should do this till you actually put in the 2 weeks notice at your project management job. What was kind of that time frame and thought process there?
So I officially started the company in January 2020. And of course, COVID hit.
What a great time to start a company.
Actually, you know what? Like, everybody says it all the time, but for us working on residential, it really was a benefit.
Sure.
Because everyone's at home. I can't tell you how many home office build outs that we ended up doing during that time, because everyone needed space to be able to work. And then also everyone's sitting at home looking at their old stuff, and I'm like, well, now I want to fix it. I need to change this. So I think it really kind of springboarded us ahead. And so it was about 8 months or so that I doubled down. So I was working with my company and building my brand. And that's when I got to that head of making the decision. And to be honest, it ended up being I much longer than a 2-week notice. They had requested me to stay on for 2 more months. And so I stuck around and helped them out in order to have a good transition from one to the other. They were very kind and generous and helped me out financially.
Cool. So you made that jump, you made the transition, you got everything rolling. What was the very first day, like the first month that you're out on your own? Was this the first company that you owned?
Yes.
Okay. So was it scary? Was it just nothing but head down and go and run, and we're going to make this work? Was it everything all at once? I mean, what was that first month like for you?
Oh, it's terrifying. And it's both of those. It's very much head down and go, but it's head down and go because if I pop my head up, I realize that I'm way and over my head and drowning and don't really know what I'm doing and trying to figure it out. Was
your wife working?
She was.
Okay.
And she really carried us personally for a while, probably the first year. She carried us, our family financially. And that's, I struggled along time before I was really able to make money and be able to pay myself appropriately. And that's part of the struggle of business ownership is, you got to figure out the money. So for me personally, I know construction. I know project management. I'm an excellent project manager. But moving into the business side is a complete different ballgame. And that was something that at the time I thought I was versed on, and I thought that I knew more than I really knew. Once I got in there, I realized how little I did know and how much growth that I had to make.
Yeah, you don't in that department, you don't know what you don't know, right? And you get into it and you're like, holy crap, I got to figure out finances, and what do I need? I need QuickBooks. I need all the different stuff that you don't think about. All you think about is all I have to do is execute this trade and I'll make money and the business will grow. And it's a lot more complicated than that.
Absolutely. From a project manager standpoint, you look at your numbers and you see your cost and you see your profit. All right, cool. We're making money. But like you said, my books got way backed up, and it took me quite a long time to try to go back and clean all of it up after the fact because I wasn't prepared and really jumping off.
We've never seen a contractor's books be messed up before, so you're the first that happened to.
Hey, mine are clean now.
That's right. Oh man! So one of the things that I'm interested in is when you mentioned that you were in the military. What do you think? Making that transition, making that step, having the confidence to make that step, as well as skills to actually do the work and whatever. What do you think about military translates over to you making that transition to going out on your own, as well as just running a business in general?
So there are some certain core values that the military builds into you. That's leadership, duty, respect, honor, integrity, and just personal service. And I think that all of those really carry over into this field. And no one's ever going to tell you that construction's easy. Because it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of hours. You got to really focus and really put your head down and drive at times. And with that military background, that really instills that core value into you as far as what you need to take into the job market, be able to bring that along, and that duty, that respect, teaching others that integrity, because to be honest, like this construction field struggles at time to really honor that integrity part of it, because everyone's always focused on me instead of what can I do for others.
Right.
And I think that that's something that really carries over very well.
Yeah, it's funny how you said that is right on to kind of my core beliefs in it, because I think the issue with most contractors is I gave you a good product. That's what you paid me for. Why are you complaining? But if you put yourself in the other service, the how are they experiencing this? There's more that I'm giving them than just a new kitchen, a new office, a new basement, where there's personal responsibility in being the leader and the guide and the advocate for that client. That's the part that if you can get that down, that takes your company to the next level, right? That's the integrity of it. That's, I've never heard a contractor be like, well, I don't care about having integrity. I don't care, like everyone thinks they have integrity, but what does that mean? That means I'm going to go above and beyond, like you're saying, and serve my customer for what they're paying me for. They're not just buying a kitchen, but they're buying me to be an advocate to get this kitchen perfect for what we discussed. So I think that's right on with the carryover from the military experience. I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about the military, now that you have employees and you have the perspective of wanting to maintain employees by nature of creating culture in your company. How does what you saw in the military of the culture of the military, how does that transition over? And what are some specific things that, because I learned this or experienced this, I do that and implement that in my company, or because I experienced this in the military, I do the opposite of that because I didn't like that? Are there things like that translate to your culture and employees now?
Oh, sure. And it's funny you asked that, because I just had this conversation with someone else yesterday. They asked me, what was your favorite thing about the military and what was your least favorite thing?
Yeah.
And I explained, my favorite thing is the people, the camaraderie, my brothers.
Right.
And she asked me, well, do you still stay in touch with them? I said, not all, but yes, a majority of them. We still talk regularly and get together when we can, because we're spread out
everywhere,
all over the place. But we still talk and we keep up with each other. But the least favorite is what I told her was politics, and having to work for someone who is usually not as versed or as educated or knows as much about what we're doing. They're just there because they have a higher rank.
They're there because of tenure, not because of knowledge and experience and ability. Right.
Yes, absolutely. And but then I caught myself and I said, well, actually that translates perfectly over to real life too, because anybody that's worked at a large corporation, they know plenty of people that get promoted just because they've been there, as opposed to promoting because of who they are.
Right.
So as far as culture and what I want to bring to my company, I always want to make sure that I am creating culture that promotes people, that grows people, that I don't want people to just get promoted just because they stuck around and they've been here. I don't want people to just stick around and be here. I want to always be able to teach and train and grow people to be able to be better in their job, better in their career, better at their home life. And if I'm unable to provide them a place that they can continue to grow and get better, I hope they move on to another place that can continue to grow them. I think that that's my job as a person, is to really grow people.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way that I take the approach with my culture, with my company, is I'm not in the business of construction. I'm in the business of growing people.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's how you can duplicate yourself.
Yeah.
If the end goal is to build something substantial that you can get some mailbox money one day when you retire from, and it keeps running, you got to have that mentality, right? It's not a hunt and gather mentality of most contractors, where as much money as I can make this week, I'm good. I'm going to have some fun Friday and Saturday nights, and I'm going to start over next week.
Trying to create something bigger than that.
Yeah, building that culture inside of the company where people say, this is part of me. That I want to stay here. I want to work here because this is also my company, even though I'm an employee, right? And having that type of culture. Going back to that.
I had a
question. Go ahead.
So talking about the culture, can you give us 2 or 3 things that you specifically do to kind of develop that stuff within your company with your people?
Sure. So I make sure to spend time with my people. I think that a lot of times it's easy to draw that line between owner and PM, and it's really easy to draw that line between owner and subs.
Right.
But I always want to be able to get to know my people. So I spending time with them, because those are the people that represent your brand.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what if you just step back and let them do whatever, and then you don't know what people are seeing and who they are getting.
Yeah.
So from the very top to the very bottom, and not just the crew leads, I get to know the crews, I get to know their people, I get to know their hey, you got a new guy this week? Let's go meet him. And I think that that's important, just to be able to have that consistency across the board.
Working to develop a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But you also do like events occasionally too, right?
Yes. Yeah. We do events. We do the Christmas stuff. I think we're gonna go to Top Golf here pretty soon.
That's the normal place. Everybody does Top Golf.
I mean, yeah, one of my PMs is a scratch golfer, so I don't know how fun that's gonna be.
That's great. So taking us back onto like your journey from starting the company, you launched, you had a month of head down going for it. What was the best thing and the worst decision you made in the first couple months of launching? Like what was the decision or a direction that you went where you're like, I am so glad I did that? And where if in hindsight you could have an eraser, you can be like, why? What am I doing here?
Oh, Clark, I think you're baiting me here, because you know my worst decision I've ever made in the company.
Well,
and
yeah,
that was a partnership.
Yeah,
and in speaking of that, like, I would strongly recommend anyone who is considering it, don't do it, because you can do it by yourself. You just have to have the strength and the guidance to be able to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
When I was at that point, I thought I was buying myself some time, because if you remember, I was talking about kind of double dipping, trying to work for the company and then also building my own before I could ever start really getting any ground to stand on. And so I thought that a partnership would let him kind of come in and work while I'm working on my day to day.
Right.
And it was fine for 2 months, but then 2 months later, I quit my job anyway, because we had enough work for me to really focus on that. But when you have two heads to a dragon, those heads have to be
in sync.
Yeah. And when I talk to people about partnerships, I don't think that they're bad. I think that there's a lot of pros for the right reasons. But I think when I'm asking, well, why are you starting this and why are you bringing on partners? There's two things that I think that I heard from you when we were first talking through this, that are the bad reasons, right? There's two of the worst reasons that people get into partnerships, but do it. One, self-confidence. I don't know if I can do this myself. I don't know if I can handle this. And I don't think you struggled a ton with that, but I think it was like,
I did
have. So sure. It's the, I don't think I can. And you kind of spoke to it like, you can, you just do it. Like, you just start going. You just figure out what you need to figure out and keep your eyes open on what you're missing. And so the self-confidence is one bad reason to get a partner. I don't know what I'm doing, so I need to get this guy. I think the other wrong reason to start a partnership is more of, I'm an external processor and I need to bounce ideas off people to process out loud. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that, and we haven't talked about that, but I feel like that was some of you. I think that was one of the reasons you ended up, reaching out to us with ProServe Alliance. Is that's the pro of having a coach as opposed to taking on a partner, is you can do that external processing. You can get that self-confidence from a coach, but you don't have to give half your company away. Right. And I feel like those are kind of the two key elements of a bad partnership, that why you regret it is because it wasn't a 1 + 1 = 3. It was more, I need help. I'm unsure of myself here, and also I'm an external processor, and I need someone to bounce ideas off of before I can really make decisions on them.
It's almost almost a bringing on an owner or partner as a safety net.
Yeah.
Right. As like, I'm okay, this will make it easier. It'll be less risky if I do this, and I think that's a bad decision to go that direction.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right in referencing me on that. Yes, I did struggle with that confidence, because I didn't. Again, I knew project management, I knew construction, I knew how to get the job done, but I didn't know and understand the business side of it.
You'd never run your own business before.
I'd never run my own business, and when I partnered, I was under the impression that he had more business knowledge and ability than what he did. And I thought that that was going to run more seamless and more smooth to be able to help me. And the reality of it was that he had none of that. And we really clashed. And I ended up having to run. I ended up not only having to run the business and run myself, but also had to run him and manage him. And it became an issue. But yes, absolutely. I am an external processor. And so I like to bounce ideas off of people, always. You can ask my PMs. I talk to them. Hey, what do you guys think about this? What do you think? But should we go this direction? I mean, it's not everything, but sure, definitely ideas that I bounce off them all the time.
But that's good too, because that when you're talking about building culture, that actually brings them into the fold of like, where are we going? What are we doing? I want your impact. I want your input, right? You're going to make the decision, but I'm glad to have the PMs. What do you think about this? So that's a culture builder in itself.
So that was probably your least favorite decision you made launching your company. What do you think you did right in terms of, in the beginning, you didn't realize you're stumbling into the right decisions, but you were making good decisions in certain directions?
Well, without trying to sound cheesy here,
sure,
and do a promo, the best decision I've ever made in my company was hiring ProServe Alliance, because it gave me the ability to really have that coaching and that ability to really build my structures, to build my processes. And those were things that I struggled with. Those were things that I did not have. It taught me how to make money, because even though your job's profitable, that doesn't mean that your business is profitable.
Right. And
so that was by far the best decision that I ever made with my company. When I hired ProServe Alliance, I was at a point that I didn't know if I was going to make it. I'll be 100% honest. Like I had the revenue. I mean, I was doing almost $3 million a year in revenue, but no profitability. And I wasn't paying myself. I had not paid myself in probably 8-9 months, and just really sinking.
Yeah. I remember you saying, I'm paying you guys more than I'm paying myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And being like, I mean, there's responsibility on our side feeling that, of like, well, we're going to make it worth it. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, that was a bold move on your part.
Yeah.
Well, I specifically remember, Clark, you and I having a conversation, and you got real with me. You asked me, you paying us, is that going to sink your company? Because we don't want that. Mm-hmm. And the care and honesty that you guys bring to what you do, really helped me a lot. Like, it's easy to sit back and say, oh yeah, I'm going to tell you what to do and this and that. But, the fact that you guys actually have compassion and care about the people that you're working with, that is the difference maker to me. And that was the difference maker in my company, was that you guys were able to get me on track with the business side of it. And, now it's been a year and a half almost, and I feel extremely confident.
Running and gunning. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate that. This is not a paid endorsement.
It's not.
Appreciate that. We're not having you on here to sing our praises. We just want to deep dive into you. But we really do appreciate that. That means
I'm just a good customer.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you think, personally on your side, that you have developed in yourself or worked on in yourself, that by nature of doing that benefited your company? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think being a business owner is extremely stressful.
Yes.
And you get pulled in all kinds of different directions, and there's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of just stress that just weighs on one thing, a few things that I have really implemented into my own personal life that has helped me a lot is scheduling my time better. So becoming more efficient with my work hours and scheduling my personal time, because I have to have time to go to the gym. So go work out, because that helps you infinitely on your mentality and on your physicality, just to be able to go through your day to day. Finding peace in what you do is important too. So for me, I started reading more. I started diving more into becoming a professional in the things that I do, instead of just becoming good at it.
Just by educating yourself.
Just by educating myself and just trying to become the best that I can be at learning. And
I thought you knew everything.
You always think I know everything. No, I said that wrong. As a person, you always think that you know everything.
That's right. That's right.
And, I look back on it and look back 10 years ago, and I was like, golly, I was an idiot. Because I thought I was so smart. I thought I knew everything, and I don't. And I think that, to be honest, like getting to that point, that wisdom of understanding that you don't know everything, absolutely, I think that is important too. Because I think it takes experience and growth to be able to earn that wisdom and really understand, hey, I need to constantly be learning.
Yeah. Well, by nature of you doing that, your company, the culture, and your people are going to benefit from it. Because the more you grow, the more education that you have, the more you're developed, the more that rolls down into your company, into your employees, into your subcontractors, into your clients. It just becomes more and more part of the depth of your company.
Yep. So going back to the timeline, you launched, you were working, you had a partnership, you guys, ended up splitting ways, working out to be able to go do your own thing. You started kind of trying to gain traction. We were in the picture, trying to work through kind of the first level, second level of building your company. You've since made hires. Going into those hires, and going from a guy trying to run a construction company, doing renovations and being a project manager, to being a boss with employees and a coach, are two totally separate skill sets. So what was that transition for you? Again, the pros and cons that you went in, like what were the things you were doing well before and during that transition? And what are some things in hindsight, if you could change, when you started doing this, what would have you done differently?
Well, I think you got to be really careful and plan your first hires really, really well. For me, my first hire was amazing. I was lucky enough to bring on someone who I had worked with before, that I knew him personally and professionally. And it was actually the second time that I didn't hired him, because I had hired him for the company that I worked at previously.
That's a slang on.
So bringing in that first hire is going to set your culture for your company. Because if you mess that one up and you bring in someone that is toxic or that doesn't see things the way that you do, or that you guys are going to butt heads, then it really is going to hurt you a whole lot more than it's going to help you.
It takes a lot to recover from that.
Yes. Yeah. For me, that one was spot on, perfect. And I knew that was someone that I wanted to hire to begin with.
Yeah, that one's almost cheating, because you already had worked with them. You'd already had plenty of experience knowing he checks all of your boxes. So that one to me,
you knew what you were getting.
Talk about the next hire or the next couple hires that you had.
So my next hire, I did not win.
Okay.
I hired a person that I thought was going to be stellar. And to be honest, she was really, really good at her job. She came in and just really rocked it. But there was something about it. She just didn't want to be here. And, so she was only worked here for about 2 months and left. And, in a young company, that's hard because you invest that money on the front end and she's not making money for us. Mm-hmm. And right around the time I got her trained and really ready to start being profitable, she quit. And then they turned around and puts all of her job on me. Plus I've got to turn around and try to hire someone else.
Not to mention the view of like, I put in all this time, all this effort,
money
right there, all this money, and now I'm back to square one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it really just kind of cut me off at the knees and set me back another 6 months on where I was trying to grow towards. The next one was next hire after that, I did really well. And this was not someone that I knew. And so I've still got him with me now. And with that, I did a lot of interviews. I did multiple interviews with each one of them. I ended up whittling it down to 5 people, and then I brought them all in again. I ended up whittling it down to 2. And then I got references, that provided me superintendents and people that they worked with.
There was much more caution around.
Yes, much, much, much more caution and really doing my due diligence on bringing in the right type of person that I really wanted to be with and that could grow within the company. And
I wasn't in your sessions. What was the advice from your coach with us? How did that impact that hire versus how you did the first one, or how you did the normal one, or did it? What was there coaching or help around doing that, making that hire?
So there was coaching around all of my hires.
Yeah.
And so the benefit also with ProServe Alliance is that I was provided like all my HR documents and really set up on like job descriptions. Of course, I got to edit it a little bit to
make it your own,
what my business is. Yeah. But I had that, and to be able to come in with all of that ahead of time really helped. And the coaching was great because it really did help me to solidify that and help me to plan. And like I said, I like to process outward. So being able to even bounce the ideas off of the coach. And so another offer was, hey, if you want me to do an interview with one of these people, I'll interview. And that way you get a second set of eyes on it. I didn't follow through with that, but the option was there, and that was very much appreciated.
Cool. So you made your hires. You got your first guy in, which was cheating, but it was great. I'm glad you got it. And then you made one hire that turned over. You made another hire. How did you, when you started getting multiple employees, how you were running your relationships then versus now? Has it changed? Where have you grown since your first couple hires from then till now in terms of being a boss, being an owner of a company? What's the growth process there for you?
So it has very much improved because I don't manage jobs anymore. So I am no longer a project manager. I have project managers that run my jobs. I manage my project managers. And I think that has really helped our culture too. And being able to work with them, being able to train them, hey, you got any issues, bring it to me. We have our weekly meetings and we go through everything, every single job we touch, every single picture we touch, every single line item. We go through it. We go through the invoicing. We go through the client information, all of that, just to make sure that, hey, to to keep them accountable, but also, hey, I'm here. So if you need help with anything, like I can help you. So when you got questions, come to me. Like I can help you find the solution or the answer to that. If you're struggling with something, hey, this client is just really, really difficult. I'm having a hard time dealing with them. Hey, that's what I'm here for. Let me get on the phone. I'll call them. I'll go meet with them and really kind of be your partner in that. And I think that by me not managing jobs and having the time and the bandwidth to actually be able to do that, that it has provided a lot of benefit to my guys.
Yeah, that the transition you made from running projects, hiring people, and then not running projects, the front end is just work. It's not, when you're running projects by yourself, it's a lot of work, but it's not hard, once you get into that groove. And then afterwards, it's a lot of work, but managing people. But the hardest part is that transition in the middle when you're also running jobs and managing people running jobs and training and hiring new people. I mean, it's like an 80-hour work week.
And then you hire somebody and they leave and you got to hire another person. And it's a lot.
And when they leave, that's 50% of the company quit, right? It's not 1 out of 10 people. So we got 10% of the workload spread around to everybody, but it's 50% of your employees left. So now how do we make up for that? So that transition, we've seen a lot of guys get stuck there, right? Trying to make their first hire didn't work. Trying to make their first hire didn't work. What do you think you did right in terms of going from running projects, making the hire and running projects to not running projects anymore? If you could pin it down to 1 or 2 things, what do you think you did? What was the best decisions you were making to make that transition actually happen?
So how I kind of handled it was when I brought on the first project manager, he was running with me and kind of shadowing me for the first few weeks, learning the ropes on how to do it. But I needed him to jump off faster because I was already drowning underwater and I needed the help. So I kicked him out and made him kind of learn more on his own. Again, back to that first hire, that's the benefit of having someone that I already knew, already trusted, had worked with before. And, but he made mistakes. He made mistakes that cost money and that cost time. But those mistakes are expected because I didn't have the time and to be able to really invest in getting him where he needed to be on the front end. That was my sacrifice, was
collateral damage
mistakes. With the second PM that I kept, I did a similar kind of approach. At that point I was still managing jobs. Hey, you're going to come in, you're going to learn, and walk them through start to finish the first 4 or 5 week job. I don't know what it was. This is our entire process. This is how everything runs. This is how we do it. And then I started getting him to where he's immediately learning how to write estimates and how to run his own jobs. So I kind of split little by little, taking stuff off my plate, putting it on his until we could transition completely to where he was able to take over everything that I was doing.
Cool.
It sounds like, some of the main components of it were you spent the time on the front end with both of them to develop and understand how you operate, how you manage, how you expect them to talk to clients and crews, and kind of the core values of the company, not really what is an LVL and what is sheetrock and what less of that and more of like, this is how our company functions. You spend a little bit of time in that, but then you allowed them to go out and make mistakes, and you were there in the background to support and educate and help them develop, but you gave them the space to make mistakes.
Yes. So my management style is, I do not like to micromanage. Like, I want to give people the opportunity to be able to make their own decisions, to be able to make their own paths on how they're going to do things, as long as you're following the processes. Like these are all the boxes you got to check. This is the outline, is how I want you to do it. This is as long as you're meeting all of these boxes and you're getting all of this done, you can kind of create your own path. So I give my guys the opportunity to create their own schedules. I don't know if other construction companies do or not, but one thing that I do make sure they do is I want to see your schedule on your calendar. So you've got to be able to put that on the calendar. So I don't look, if I look at it and Wednesday you got nothing on your calendar and you're not sitting in here in the office, I'm going to be wondering where you're at.
Right.
And so I love to be able to give that freedom to people, just to be able to have that freedom and that trust, because I think trust is important. I think as a company and as a culture, you have to develop that, because if you don't trust your people to get the job done, if you don't trust your people, you got the wrong people or you got the wrong culture.
So it's a balance of freedom and strategic places of accountability.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, we have our weekly meetings where we go through everything, and making sure that you're getting everything done and you're doing it properly and following our processes, and that you're getting your communications out with the client, that you have already scheduled all of your work, that you have sent work orders, that you've updated your change orders, but that's more the minutia, versus the overall arching is just more, hey, this is what we're all doing. We all know what we're doing on the same path. But you can go at it from the way that you want to attack it.
Sure.
I got a question for you, and I want a full honest answer. This is not setting you up to promote us. I'm really curious about this. One of the biggest aspects of ProServe Alliance that we bring to contractors that we're coaching is the processes, procedures, the project management process, the paperwork, the job descriptions, all of that stuff that is kind of how to hire, when to hire, who to hire, our 10-step hiring, all of that stuff. We helped you. One thing that we very strong about is that we aren't doing that for you. We're bringing it to you. We help you and we give you the tools, but we're not swinging the hammer for you. So honestly, give me the true answer to this. If you wouldn't have had all of the stuff that we'd provided for you, I mean, you this has been a year and a half, and you've launched the company, worked out of getting out of that partnership, hired, growing, got it out. You've been very fast forwarded to where you're at today, right? The normal journey is not a year and a half to get to where you're at from charging your neighbor $100. With that being said, what's the time length you think if you didn't get our support? Because you're a smart guy, you're right. We're not any, Alliance is not some sort of magic pill. It is just people that have made mistakes before, kind of showing you the path and kind of laying out, hey, here's everything we learned from our mistakes. Here's all the tools you need. How quickly do you think that fast forwarded you versus if you were doing it on your own without all of those resources?
I wouldn't have made it, Clark. I would be working for another company. I would be working as a PM somewhere. Like it's less about how fast it got me to where I'm wanting to be, and because I can't really put a timeline on that, because I don't think I would have succeeded, period, without it. I was at a point where I had the clients, I had the subcontractors, I had the perfect product. Like, we're putting out beautiful Instagram worthy stuff and people are calling me, but I couldn't manage it. I couldn't run it. And so I honest to God think that had I not made that decision, I would have folded and ended up taking a job working for somebody else.
Well,
we're good. Thank you so much for the that means a lot. I mean, hearing that, I mean, literally that with the other stuff we said, I really appreciate all it, because that's why we do this. Like, this is the fun of it. This is the enjoying why we do what we do is hearing stories like yours, because it's just, it's why we're doing this. It's obviously we want to make money with what we're doing, but the impact we can help have on others and watch others have impacts on their people. That's the joy we get out of this. That's amazing. So,
well, I mean,
that.
the first 6 months that you joined in on Alliance was pretty treacherous.
Yeah,
it was a rough road because you joined in right at the beginning of the year, and then through the summer, it like from January through like June, July, it was rough road. It was, and then all of a sudden you turned over to the second part of the year and started catching some strides and started making some movement, and this year it looks like you're really cranking. So that leads me into the next thing and kind of closing this out because we're out of time. But what's next for C3CC?
So we are. I'm actually posting next week to hire another PM. So I'm also actively working on hiring an office manager / marketing manager and defining that role. And so within the next 6 months, we'll be hiring 2 more employees. Yesterday, I got approval to build out my office to add another 1,000 square feet on it so that we have the office space to be able to contain the growth. And we're just continuing to push and we're continuing to grow. We have launched more into the commercial space over the last couple months, and I'm really starting to catch some traction in building our commercial brand along with our residential brand. And I think that it really is going to make a big difference as far as where we're going with it.
Awesome. Well, if you're listening and you're in the Dallas area, look up C3 Construction Company. They're rocking out there, and they can help you out.
Yeah, we have a camaraderie. What he was talking about with the military is exactly what we have here as well. In terms of if you're a contractor in the Dallas McKinney area, reach out to us. We'll connect you with Bruce. He's a good dude, and there's plenty of work out there for everybody in terms of partnering up with other companies that are
especially in Texas.
Oh man,
plenty.
So much in Texas.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all your time this morning. We're proud of you. We're happy to be partnered up with you, and we're excited about the next part of your journey with this.
Yeah, man.
Hey, I honestly can't thank you guys enough. Thank you for everything that you guys have provided for me, for my company, for my family, and thanks for having me here today.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.